Hello, everybody. Good morning, Las Vegas. Oh, we got a lot to cover today. We got a lot of stuff to do today. I will try not to speak too fast, but feel free to wave things at me. I got these lights in my eyes so I can see everything. And by the way, oh, here we go. I already gave me a copy of this thing. So we have a lot of ground to cover. And I think this year is a little more serious than just the normal entertainment stuff, because I want you guys to be thinking about jewelers, specifically small independent jewelers, the people who are the foundation of this industry, particularly in the United States now. And whatever we talk about, we'll talk about social responsibility, we'll talk about sourcing. How does that impact that small to medium-sized independent jeweler? Let's say people over $1 million are selling a year, but even the ones that are less. And you'll see that there are statements here. Gina Joseph, for example, spoke a little bit about that 3/4 or 2/3 of the United States jewelry industry is sold by these smaller independent jewelers. So I just want you to keep that in the back of your brain. I want to say thank you to everybody for helping out here. A tremendous amount of effort went into this presentation. Sherry, of course, Savile helps. Avital was working into the screen behind you. There's like, a huge amount of space behind me over here with people that are doing all the AV and all the people from here. So thank you, the Rapaport team, and thank you, everybody, JCK, for really setting things up. And also thank you to you, our customers, our clients who are helping pay for this. This is coming out of the Rapaport USA budget, which is basically RapNet. So I want to thank RapNet, and I want to thank those people. The Rapaport Group's about values. Now, these values are really important because in a turbulent, crazy, strange world, if you have a course, let's say you're flying an airplane and you're getting into some turbulence, you have a course, you have a compass. It tells you where you're going. Your compass is your Rapaport ethical, transparent, competitive, efficient markets. That's what we do. That's what we believe in. Added value services, established in '78. A lot of employees, thank God. They're really great people. The employees are the core of our business. And 22,000 clients. We're in the added value service business, information services, RapNet trading network, auctions and trading services, social responsibility, some grading there as well. And visit Rapaport.com for more information. You can always send me an email, martin@Rapaport.com or info@Rapaport.com. And so just some background, etc. Now, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about social responsibility because it's not just about the company and the selling. It's about you. What kind of human being, what kind of person are you? What do you tell your children about what you do? Sourcing. How do you get product, and what are your responsibilities in getting a product? And that's kind of background. Again, think about the small jeweler here, okay? And then we'll dig into the small jeweler thing, and we'll have some people come up on the stage, and we'll talk for about 20 minutes to half an hour. What is the perspective of that small to independent jeweler? And not so small. They're serious people, really. So what's going on with them? Now, responsibility and the idea of, first of all, it's a blessing to recognize all of the different people in this industry that are doing good things. They feel their heart. They're not just working with their brain how to make money. And maybe some people are even thinking that there's more to having a business than making money, and that making money is not the most important thing that you do with your business. And I think that concept of why you're in business, to transcend the idea of making money to your employees, to your customers, to your society, to your environment, that's so important because it's really real. It's not like theoretical. You're on planet Earth and you're just grabbing and doing. It's like you're impacting your environment. And the better you impact your environment, the more good karma you get. So I'm very proud of all these organizations. I'm going to show you a little bit about what Rapaport is doing in Sierra Leone, just so you have an idea. It'll be a video for about 4.5, 5 minutes. So you'll relax. I watched the video this morning while I grab a drink. Oh yeah, the Peace Diamond story. It's, like the poorest people in the world found the 709-carat diamond in Sierra Leone that would normally be smuggled out of the country for something like $500,000, and then the guy who found it would run away from his community and, live somewhere, and that's how that would work. But these guys gave the money to the president. They actually gave the diamonds. Instead of smuggling and sneaking, they gave it to the government. And what happened is that money went back into the village. And that's a lesson that if you work in an honest and transparent way, even in artisanal diggers in Africa with a 709-carat diamond, you can create benefit for your community. So the diamond didn't just belong to the guy who found it. The government got money, 25% went to the community, the diggers got money, etc. So in the meantime, we sold this diamond for, Rapaport sold this diamond without charging any money for selling it to Laurie Graff for $6.5 million, and $1.6 million went to the village. And so I want to tell you that story to show how an actual diamond has created a village in Sierra Leone. And so, okay. So I want to talk about the idea of development, the idea of helping people, the idea of going to Africa, the idea of being there. Now, let's think about this. These are some of the greatest people that the diamond industry has ever seen passed away this year. And, what can we learn? What can we understand from the past? There seems to be a disconnect as Gen Z comes in, as different things are happening, and we kind of forget about people. Last year I said a whole bunch of strong things, and I will talk about the World Diamond Council, but I don't appreciate them. But the people, we have to respect the people even if they have different views than us. I need to respect people that have different views. So there are no absolutes as we're going to talk about morality and ethics in the diamond industry, and you're going to wonder what are the moralities, how does it work? But these people, now Gabby and Svi I knew pretty well, but I really knew Harry for 40 years, 35 years. And Harry, and also, I should say Roland, they really thought about the standards of what this industry can and should mean, how we represent ourselves, our values. These were people who dealt for decades with the idea of values. What should the values be? How should we disclose synthetic, or how should we disclose treatments and colored stones? Well, we've gone through all that. Roland was there, Harry was there, and so I just want us to recognize two things. One is that a tremendous amount of work is being done and has been done in the area of values and social responsibility within the industry. And the second thing is that we, and especially I, have to have respect for the people that are doing things, even if I disagree with them. And I think that's an important point, that a lot of times now there's so much turbulence in the industry. I'll speak very strongly against synthetic diamonds. I'll speak very strongly against the World Diamond Council and stuff that I don't think we should be doing. But that doesn't mean the people who are doing these things are not great, wonderful people with the best interests of the industry at heart. And so I think that as we talk about changes and the changing environment, what we need to do, we should remember that the people, and especially the people that passed, have done a tremendous amount of work to move us to where we are today. Harry was a giver. Naftali was a builder. Tzvi was an inventor, and Gabby was a creator, and these are all different types. So I spoke briefly about that. And now let's take us to another area, and I'm really hoping the videos will work here. But what about money? We're all taught that we have to be very careful about where we buy our diamonds from and where we sell our diamonds to. And, who gives us money? Do you want to sell to Al? Al Qaeda? And he has an actress in, Beirut somewhere. Do you want to do that? Because here's my man. Are we getting anywhere with the videos? Okay, hang on, before I go to the videos, I want to explain this. So now you got the situation where money, you have to be aware of where you're getting your money from, who's giving you money, and who are you giving money to. So it's not enough to know about the diamonds. Now we're starting to think about the money. How careful do I have to be about who I sell diamonds to? Or gems to? It's working, you're saying now? We're not going to play it yet. What's it? We're going to come to that in a minute, but I'm going to go finish this argument about Heidi. And I'm going to come back to this once I show you the other video, but, everyone's upset about Christie's selling $201 million of Heidi Horton's jewelry, and then I'm looking and it says Harry Winston jewelry, Van Cleef, Bulgari. And so no one had a problem taking the Nazi money from Heidi. So the values that we looked at in 1970 were different. than the values of today. And so we're not in a fair world because they're moving the goalposts on us. So now everyone's upset because you're getting this Nazi money. But when they first sold the jewelry and got the Nazi money directly from Heidi, no one would give a poop. So what's going on here with money? I'm going to go back. I know that it's out of order, and I apologize for that. But I do want you to see the Sierra Leone thing so you can see what we're believing in. Well, I don't know. I have to get you say you can make this happen? So I'll be back in about 4 minutes.
This is Sierra Leone, West Africa. Sierra Leone, Kono District, West Africa. Not East Africa, not South Africa, not North Africa. Sierra Leone, West Africa, Sierra Leone.
With a population of 7.4 million people, Sierra Leone borders Guinea to the north and east, and Liberia to the southeast. Sierra Leone's life expectancy is rated at 50 years, one of the lowest in the world. With a gross domestic product of $4 billion, an estimated 70% of the population live under $2 a day. Sierra Leone is ranked one of the poorest countries in the world. On March 16, 2017, a 709-carat diamond was reportedly found in Sierra Leone.
It all started in the days of our fathers. Diamonds were found during that period, like 80 carat, 90 carat, but we make no profit from them. We gain nothing from it as a village. First of all, we don't have school. 2, no hospital. 3, we have poor road network. And 4, no chance for our children to be educated. He said by the grace of God, He will help us. So we are looking to the help of God.
The past diamonds, whether it was taken to the government or not, we don't know. And nothing was done for this village. We are left with nothing but just the name.
The role that Rapaport played in Sierra Leone after the Civil War to transform the image of our diamonds from blood diamonds to peace diamonds.
No good road, no water supply, no electricity. What to eat is absent. The diamond can bring us light here. So if whosoever buy the diamond, let him come with light in exchange. Barter system, we are no more slaves. Africa, we are no more slaves. Yes.
All right, so this isn't something for everybody to do, but it just shows you how the impact of diamonds actually works in the real world. But I must say, all the other efforts that people are doing are blessed. Everything is good. So I just wanted to point out that there's reality to the sourcing and that you can really impact people's lives. We're dealing with food security because you can have a school that the government gave, but there's no food for the children. So we feed 220 children every day. So this peace diamond thing was like the tip of the iceberg. and drawing us into relating to a community education and, of course, sustainable economic development, buying things like cacao beans, to keep communities going. Okay, Senators, we talked about leadership and the Heidi Horton situation about money. And, you really have to think about how far do we go with this social responsibility stuff? Are we really going to worry about where the money is coming from when we sell a diamond or we sell jewelry? And America's got this weirdness because it's doing something and the rest of the world is not. Things are perfectly legal in India or the UAE that are not legal in the United States. So we need to think about this. And I'm going to introduce you to someone a little bit here who's had something to say about this. And the question is, should you have taken money from the Germans after the war?
I didn't. A lot of people did. I tell you why. Not my husband and not I. Never took a penny. I said, no, you can't. You can't pay for my father's death, for my brother's death, for my whole family's death, that I came out alone. I don't want their money. I'd rather starve because every piece of bread would get stuck on my throat if I took money. No, I don't sell out my family for money. There is no Wiedergutmachung. Nobody could make good for that. Never, never, never in a million years.
So, you wonder what's happening. That's my mother here. That was my mother speaking about the Nazi money. And I feel pretty strong about it. It's your mother saying, don't take money, don't deal with this money, don't touch money. And so we as an industry need to start thinking about, what are we doing? If Alrosa is a really good company with the social responsibility for the local community, I must say that. We were about to work with them before the war started to try to show what good that they're doing socially to the people in their communities. So they're good, but, why did Winston take that money from Heidi Horton? Why? In a world of, maybe, who cares? Money, maybe diamonds are a way to get rid of money and to get rid of money that may not be, maybe dirty money. But, I don't know what to say about this other than to probably try to put it into context for us so we can have a clear point of differentiation. I'm not against Alrosa, and a lot of the people there do very good things. I want to make that clear. On the other hand, when Alrosa gets money, the State Department has been showing that that money goes to the war effort and actually gets Ukrainians killed. And there's a lot of arguments for and against Ukraine or Russia. But that money from those diamonds that go to Alrosa, go to the military. If you buy a diamond that's cut outside, let's say it's cut in Israel or India, I'm going to pick on the Indians, so most of the diamonds are cut there, and you cut that diamond, there's a loophole that you import those polished goods to the United States. So I'm going to use the phrase Russian source diamonds, not because I have anything against specifically Russia, only because this is a very good test case for our industry. Do we deal in Russian source diamonds that are cut from Alrosa, that are cut outside of Russia? Are those diamonds okay or not? Legally, there's a question with OFAC. I'm sending notes in. We're going to figure it out. And we'll get a proper response from the U.S. government as to the legal aspect of the United States. But make no mistake, it's perfectly legal in the UAE or in India to buy diamonds from Alrosa and cut them and sell them to China or sell them anywhere else in the world. So it's an ethical issue. It's a moral issue that transcends the law. Should we or should we not deal in Russian source diamonds? And we're making a very strong case on RapNet. Don't leave them there. Don't put them there. I'm going to come out with another strong statement tomorrow probably because people are busy with the show, but I'm making the point. Do not list source Russian goods on RapNet. Okay, RapNet, fine. What about RJC? What about the United States Jewelry Council? Do we have consensus? Do we have a level playing field? You might say, hey, I'm not dealing with these Russian source diamonds because I have a moral or ethical value system. And then your competitor does and sells the goods cheaper than you. So without the law and just morality, you have another environment. But now you have the brands. And, you know, I don't think Tiffany or other high-level brands, I'm not sure, I don't know yet, we're looking at it. Are they buying Russian-sourced diamonds? I'm not talking about the phrase that they use, Russian, that the president used. What was the origin? This funny phrase, origin. Origin, you know. You think if I tell you that we're not having Russian origin diamonds, that we're not having Russian diamonds that are funding the war, but that's not true, because origin is a tricky word that we use to sometimes mislead people. The President of the United States is, you know, a wonderful person. He may have reasons why he used the phrase origin. We may use conflict diamonds and all kinds of phrases. But the bottom line with this whole thing is, should you buy this stuff, yes or no? Where are you putting yourself? The brands are putting themselves up. We're not dealing with these goods. Some are, some aren't. And then you've got to think about the independent jeweler. What's your policy about this? And so I use the situation of the Russian things, and we'll have a discussion today at this meeting we have from 2 to 4 about social responsibility, but it's an honest question. And I'm not hating people who disagree with me and say, no, you can't. You have to have Russian diamonds. You have to be able to certify them. You have to be able to do things with them. And I'm saying, well, I have a different view. And I think one of the key aspects, if we consider how leadership and how standards are evolving in the diamond industry today, we might look at a difference between me and, say, the World Diamonds or even the RJC. We leave no one behind is the phrase I hear, you know, and they're legitimate people, and, you know, they're right, and they're loving. They want an industry to be under one big umbrella. And I say, no, I want to leave behind Zimbabwe. I want to leave behind Russia, Rosa. I want to leave people behind. So this question of how broad an umbrella we have for an industry is very much on the table, and the recognition that we're all not the same. So what is the standard for the United States independent jeweler? This is an important thing to think about. How far do we go with this ethical, non-sourcing stuff? How do we compete, independent jewelers, against brands who have the market power, or big companies like Signet that have the power to maybe control the supply and know where their diamonds can come from, and they have like the Signet ruling of how they check people. I can go a drop deeper into this, and I don't want to lose people, but there's the concept of knowing where the polished diamond came from, which means you have to link the polish to the rough. And we're going with the GIA Diamond Origin Report. There'll be a press conference after this discussion, and I'll get into that later. But you can actually prove using the GIA scanning that this polish came from this rough. Okay. You don't know where it's cut. Maybe it was cut in a factory without ventilation. But let's talk about the source of the rough. Now, other systems, like I think Sarin is doing a great job. And like I said in the very beginning, you got to give everybody credit for what they're doing in a positive way. But then there's this declarative statement. So the supplier would say, this polish came from this rough, and they may get audited. So that's another level of how you know where your polish came from. Declarative statement by the supplier. So there's a discussion taking place now about how can you rely on that, how good is the auditing, is it really truthful? But not to get too lost in this, the question isn't so much about how you know where the polish came from, is what are your rules about your sourcing? Are you willing to take goods from, example, Russian source diamonds? I'm using that as an example. I could talk about Angola, I could talk about Zimbabwe, I could talk about CAR. I'm using the Russian thing because it's coming up in Congress, and a lot of reasons why I think it's a perfect way to think about what is your moral and ethical statement or standard as a jeweler, and are you really, like, you know, going beyond the law? Do you want to? Do you not want to? And then what influence do you have on trade organizations, like even the RJC? Should we have RJC members trading in Russian diamonds or not? And maybe we have to allow that, and then have rules like don't sell Americans or something. But we are looking at a world with different standards, different values, different laws. And we as an industry need to recognize that there are different levels of ethical responsibility in sourcing, and we must encourage the higher levels and encourage them by marketing them and thinking where they are. So respect people with other opinions, and you have to have red lines of acceptable behavior. So I can't be crazy here in saying these people are not good people, but at the same time I'm going to say, no, I cannot see the diamond industry participating with governments and things like the World Diamond Council that certifies rosa goods or certifies Zimbabwe goods or other things. So I may have a crazy position, you know, I'm an ethical nut or whatever, and it disturbs the industry. But everyone here is going to have to make a decision about that, and also how you influence your organizations to take on certain policies and procedures as to where you go. And it's very sensitive because the way in which the industry is being led might be not so much to the advantage of the American retailer, maybe more so for the world. And the American retailer has to have a different sense of identity, a different sense of values, and a different legal system under which to operate than other people who are legitimate. You know, you got Chinese jewelers, you got all these, you know, other people, very legitimate, you know, and we're just different. So we have to think about it. You know, I sometimes compare this to kosher food. You know, people buy kosher food, eat kosher food, pay more for kosher food or halal because that's their preference. People are vegans, you know. So when we start looking at the world around us, we start asking these questions about what are the values of our customers, what would they respond to, and what would they appreciate. I'm not going to get into this World Diamond Council system of warranties at great depth, other than to say we are going to look at it deeper. And I am giving us an alert to be careful. Red flag, don't sign the thing unless you really understand what it points to. And it really points to 181 pages of very interesting documentation about what human rights is, et cetera. So if you're going to sign this thing, you better read it and recognize you're giving a guarantee. But an in-depth analysis of the World Diamond Council system of warranties, which is being kind of forced on the industry here, I have real serious issues with it, and I'm just going to say, talk to your lawyer before you sign it. Now let's go back to the independent jeweler, and let's kind of say, okay, we said something about social responsibility. We showed you the importance of money and diamonds, and not just knowing where your diamonds are coming from, knowing where your money is coming from. And now let's go back to the issue of, okay, what's with the independent jeweler? What are the challenges and opportunities? How important are they? Can the small independent jeweler make an honest living selling natural diamonds? And you know, everyone's running to these synthetics, and they're making all this margin, but the numbers are going to go down if you sell a diamond for $5,000 or $10,000. I'm not going to get into synthetics right now so much. I will maybe later in the QA. But the question now is, can you make a good living doing this? You have to pay your showcases, your rent, your salespeople, all the people in the diamond in your store that are explaining and educating. And so can you make revenue? Will it be greater than the cost? And how do these small jewelers add value in a world where, and you'll see, I'll quote Signet a little bit, you know, the world is moving fast, guys. The new technology, I'm not just talking about the visual stuff, but I'm talking about maybe one day you'll talk and you'll say, make me a ring like this. The new technology that's coming out in terms of how you interact with customers, digital marketing, HubSpot, nurturing, developing clients, developing all that stuff. And maybe all that technology and all that stuff is only written for big companies like Signet, but the independent jeweler, and you know, he's real, he's right in the community. You know, you don't have to do, he doesn't have to be warmed up with all kinds of electronic nudging and bothering and stuff, or maybe yes. So we're going to have a conversation about that. How does the small to medium-sized jeweler add value? And what happens to the trade if we lose this, I'll call it, foundation of small jewelers? What happens to the small dealers? The memo houses in New York, the small dealers who are providing credit. How does all that work if we have a situation where some of the larger companies, say De Beers or say Signet, are now moving in on this United States population? I think Signet says they have 50 million people on their databases already, and they know them, and they're selling them, and they're using digital marketing. You know, what happens to the independent jewelers if they go away and then the big companies are buying direct from the mining companies? And, you know, so you're competing against someone who has a very clear channel of supply, a very clear, you might want to call it chain of custody, so they can make all kinds of provenance claims about where their diamonds come from, where their diamonds are cut. And now we have this open market with all these dealers, small diamond manufacturers in India, dealers in the United States and all over, all these independent jewelers. I don't know, 5,000 say they sell over $1.5 million or whatever. And what's happening there? How can they compete? What will happen to all the infrastructure, the competitive infrastructure of the diamond industry, as a higher level trend of mining companies associate with certain distribution channels go all the way to retail, maybe? So, you know, maybe I think it won't work. It will work, but, you know, it's happening. And it's happening now. So I'm going to bring some people up here, and we're going to talk about that in a few moments. But we need to think about what did that do to the entire diamond and gemstone industry, or if in fact we're going to be having these big companies taking over percentages. So let's look, for example, at some quotes here. And yeah, I want to say that I have a tremendous amount of respect for Gina Drosos. I mean, it's so unbelievable. And she's doing what a normal company should do when they look at a market. She's not against small jewelers, maybe, or maybe I will have to explain to her and to bears why it's important to keep the infrastructure of small jewelers and competitors. But look at this is coming from the Investment Days conference. And it says the jewelry category is highly fragmented because it has been historically driven by physical brick and mortar presence. You're there. And local relationships. You know, I said before, what is this small to medium-sized jewelry? And I'm saying local relationships. What does that mean? How does that work? I sent my wife out on Thursday, I think it was. I said, go to the local Zales shop and go to the local Kay's Jewelers and buy some things. Buy 3 things. Hopefully not too expensive, right? Maybe $1,000, $1,200 each. We haven't analyzed them yet. But the experience, I think, at Kay's was fantastic. Really personal relationship. I mean, it was very nice. So we shouldn't just assume bigger companies can't also have personal relationships. You know, independent jewelers still represent roughly 2/3 of specialty jewelry sales. So no question about it, the independent jeweler is important. We would expect commodity consolidation ahead as jewelry as only scaled, as consolidation ahead, as the only scaled player. We're investing to disrupt this historical construct with sales capabilities, including digital and data and a unified retail experience that would be very hard for others to match. So I'm not saying Gina is declaring war on independent jewelers. No, don't think that way. She's just expanding her company in a way that she's very good at. And so competition is healthy, is good, is to be supported, which means that now independent jewelers need to step up and say, well, how are we going to deal with that kind of a competition? What can we do better? Okay, so that's a very important concept to think about. You know, you're not living in an isolated world. You're a ping pong ball in the ocean if you're an independent jeweler. Now, smaller independent jewelry stores are the greatest competition as a whole for Signet, okay? Because they capture around 2/3 of what Americans spend on the category. The Zales owner has, this is someone talking about, maybe Gina herself, has seized the fragmented U.S. jewelry market to expand its market share, purchasing diamonds direct and Blue Nile, et cetera. So I think that Signet right now is about 9–10% of the market. And they're going to grow, and I expect them to grow, and they should grow if they're competitive. Here's the Bears quote, and I had a chance to speak to Al Cook for like 2 minutes, and he had promised me that he is very sensitive. And let me first give you the quote. It's about how we expand along the value chain towards retail. Now, you're sitting here, Mr. Retailer, and here's this Al Cook coming. This guy's got all the minds, all right. But anyways, together, and when he talks together, he's referring to Botswana and De Beers, and that creates a retail opportunity for De Beers and Botswana. Retail opportunity for De Beers and Botswana. Retail opportunity for the independent jeweler. Generic diamonds, and then like branded diamonds or hallmark or something, interesting. Taking the De Beers government partnership, it's the government of Botswana, into the diamond industries downstream, not only echoes the natural priorities of the value chain development and a knowledge economy. So you've got, and I want to recognize, I believe we have a minister here from Botswana. Please welcome all the delegation from Botswana who's taking America very seriously and coming to the JCK show. And like I mentioned before, we're going to have a press conference right after with Okavanga. But what's happening here? And will De Beers in Botswana build good retail? I mean, I'm looking at the positive side of this. If you're an independent jeweler, you shouldn't think of these people home without taking my lunch. How can we work together? And therefore, the challenge for Botswana as a government and De Beers as a company and Signet is to think about the diamond industry. How do we push more money? Now, Signet might be different, and that's fine. They'll competitively lead. And everybody here should appreciate the tremendous amount of advertising that Signet does for Christmas that all the independent jewelers get a free ride on. Wow, you know? So, you know, let's be respectful and let's understand what people are doing in the environment about us. But let's take De Beers and say, hey guys, please make sure that you keep the very delicate independent jeweler infrastructure alive. Make sure they get the goods they need. Make sure Memo's working, all the existing structures. So you don't want to come in here as a bull in a china shop when we're dealing with a very sensitive world of independent jewelers that might be as much as 2/3, I think that maybe is too much, maybe it's only 50% of United States diamond jewelry demand. So you want to be thinking about that. How do you introduce change? And you should introduce change. How do you introduce disruption? You should introduce disruption. Don't protect any independent jewelers. Don't protect anybody. But how do we come into the market in ways that allows the thriving of the existing distribution system, and then we add on to that new ways and better ways to do things. And so that's the way I would like us to think about the opportunities that sit in front of us, because every challenge that you might run and say, oh my gosh, they're coming here, where are we going to go? You know, you got to think about how you can work with the environment and to improve it as well while you're introducing new things. So my vision, we bring Botswana and De Beers together, is a really exciting retail proposition. I quoted Tim here. That's not Tim Cook, by the way. It's Alco. So let's look at the independent jeweler. The independent jeweler is sitting out there. He's got things happening, brands on top of him. Now, he can sell brands. You go into some of the top jewelers in this country, and what you see is, I don't know, all these different brands that he's promoting, Rolex and watches, or the brand names don't come to mind right now, but who's our friend in Italy? He's beautiful stuff also. And so everybody's selling these brands, and you can get a markup because brands are actually like a little monopoly, so that's pretty good. Then you're a jeweler, and you got all this technology coming at you, especially digital marketing. What are you going to do, man? Well, digital marketing, I don't know how to do digital marketing. I know how to run a store. I know how to play golf with my customers. I know how to have relationships with people. But you know, this digital marketing with landing pages and HubSpot and Salesforce and how you're going to start nurturing clients, it's just not your game. But it's there. Demographics, I'm going to talk about briefly before we sit down. The story about synthetics we can look at. And then you think about people who sell diamonds. You know, Costco has a different model. I'm sure if you looked at, Signet, they have a model, a way to penetrate the market. But Costco says, I got 150 million American members who are giving me $100 a year or whatever. I charge a customer service fee, and I sell you the diamonds for free. I don't have to make a big markup. They're probably at about 12, 13%. So you're an independent jeweler. This guy's selling diamonds 12, 13%. No customer service. So if I got Costco over here, maybe, and then I got like Tiffany, and Cartier and everybody over here, and and then where are you as an independent jeweler? Are you at Walmart over here, maybe, and I got Zales, and then I got K's, and then I got Jared's in here. Yeah, where are you in this markup game? Because it's all about markup in the end. How much can you charge for your added value? What is your added value? And really, what is the value of your added value? How much can you charge over Costco, say, for what you're giving your customer? Okay? So the independent jeweler has these interesting challenges around them. I'm going to say a few more things before I bring people up here. As a matter of fact, I'll bring them up now. So while you're coming up, I'll go, David, if you could come up. Okay, Aaliyah and Sam, if you could all come up here and hang out with us a little bit. And let's see who's here. Leah, you're looking your usual brilliant self there. Okay, come on up, guys. Yeah. I'll try to sit around here in the middle and we'll talk a little bit. And Aaliyah, you're kind of sparkly. You sit over there, and then David, and then here. You know, sorry, we don't have fancy chairs. You know. Before we dig into this, I just want to lay out. Yeah, right here's for David and share. Okay, yeah, that's good. Sit there. Okay. Now, I'll introduce everybody in a minute, but I wanted to throw out some of the questions that I want to address here. Does the diamond industry and trade need small to independent, small to medium-sized jewelers? Do we need them? I'm talking about the diamond guy buying rough from Okavango and selling it to stores that we have joint ventures with. You know, do I need them? What should independents do? What do they offer other than price? How valuable is their added value? How inclusive can or should a diamond industry be? Should we be losing some opportunities to make room for the independent jeweler? And how should we deal with that? I'm not going to, I'll raise this in a minute also. The US itself is the world's largest source of polished diamonds. We have a diamond mine here that I think produces about $2 billion a year of jewelry and stuff because of the demographics. Sophisticated retailers may be able to make money. The alternatives to diamond jewelry and sell brands that make, okay, so I'm going to just go into this kind of a thing. And let's just spend a couple of minutes looking at some of these questions. And why don't you introduce yourselves? Who's this sparkling lady? Why don't you tell everybody?
Well, my name is Aaliyah Arndale. I'm a fifth-generation jeweler. My father was a jeweler, and his father was a jeweler, and I was born, and they said, there's a jeweler. So, but why I'm here, I'm not here as Aaliyah. I am here to represent the American retail jeweler. I started a Facebook group called Jewelers Helping Jewelers, and everybody here is welcome because it is for you, and it's for everybody. Okay. My dad's out there, so he probably is clapping. Okay, but it has no rules. And it's unfiltered. So every day I listen to retail jewelers and I hear what you're saying. So today I hope to speak. Is this, you hear me? It's the volume's good?
Everybody
good.
hears
Okay,
you
fine.
well.
Okay, fine. Anyway, I am here as the voice of the American retail jeweler. So even if I disagree of something, I want to tell you what the American retail jeweler is saying. And so that is my goal here and why I was asked to be here today.
Good morning. Son? My name is Sam Delicato. I'm a wholesaler, second-generation wholesaler from RDI Diamonds. I guess I'm the young guy they brought on the stage. Well, you're all young, but I'm the Gen Zer, right? The scary Gen Zer.
How old are you? 23.
So I'm the guy who's apparently coming in always asking for a 4-carat lab-grown, and I only shop on TikTok, apparently. So I guess I'm here to give a perspective on your customers. Like, what do your customers want? And how do you reach them? And how do you, I guess, not sell them, but work with them? Because if we go into constantly trying to sell demographics, you will kind of get that barrier, right? You won't always break through it. So that's my perspective. I think that's why I'm here.
So my name is David Kelly. I'm the CEO of the Natural Diamond Council. We are a global not-for-profit that's funded predominantly by the diamond mining companies to promote natural diamonds. By contrast, I'm very new to the industry, so I don't in any way claim to have anything like the knowledge that my fellow panelists have. But my background is luxury marketing, and I think that's a very valid part of the discussion today, is not just to look at how we internally as an industry work, but also look at us in the context of the broader world and where we can compete with that broader world.
So does the diamond industry and trade need small to medium jewelers? Do we need, I'll start with David.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so as I said, my background isn't in the industry. I think this is an incredible industry. It's one of the few industries that has survived as small and independent jewelers. Most industries in the high street are, as we know, they're big conglomerates. You go to most towns and cities around the world and you'll see the same stores in the same malls all around the world. And that comes down to the unique proposition of what we're selling. Jewelry is unique. Every piece of jewelry is unique. Every diamond is unique. And that's where you can't mass produce. You can't mass retail in the same way. Because the emotion that the consumer has around their jewelry is specific. I always say if I go to dinner with someone that I haven't met before, most topics, I'm not saying I'm dull, but most topics don't last very long. Talk about fashion, interest, things like that. If I speak to her about her jewelry, the conversation lasts all night. Because there is nobody else in the world who has that same jewelry that she has. And each piece of jewelry means something. It means a moment, it means a relationship, it means an achievement to her. So that's where the structure of our industry is so different. Consumers need to trust their local retailer. There's a large amount of trust involved in what we sell. And that for me is when I look at it as on a macro scale as to why small and independent jewelers have survived when every other category in the world they haven't.
I'm going to
It's
dig a
because
little
of
deeper
that.
here. Look, why shouldn't I buy at Costco? Why should I buy from a small independent jeweler? And can some marketing message actually answer that question? So you're sitting there. Why don't I buy at Costco? Why should I go to a new store? I mean, you're going to come to that as well, but I want to think about, is there a marketing magical kind of solution that the small and independent jeweler should use to protect or to build his bubble in the community? Anything at that level you think from a marketing perspective?
Yeah, most people in this world aren't buying luxury goods as a commodity. Most people want to have the trust, they want to know what they're buying, they want to even go through the experience. And Costco isn't giving that experience, and it's kind of...
Okay, so you're saying the experience, can they market that experience?
The experience is the marketing.
Okay,
You know
but,
what I mean? The
but
word of
how do
mouth.
they let the customer know, hey, you're coming to an independent jeweler, look at what I can do that's so much more. I'm just curious if there's any way that there could be some marketing programs for independent jewelers to let the world know why and how they're better than Costco, or just not comparing themselves, but look at where we're giving you this experience and stuff. I'm just throwing that at
I mean,
you.
in most cases, it's not necessary because most cases they're independent, they're one store, and their reputation in the town is their marketing.
Okay.
The word of mouth, how they're spoken, they deal multi-generational families.
Okay.
So that in a smaller environment, a smaller town, is their marketing.
Okay, you take it over.
I will say, I guess I've never heard anyone say, oh honey, I was shopping for toilet paper and I found a beautiful diamond. You know, that's the experience, right? You're going in and you're having, you're connecting, right, on a different level. But to your question, how do you market that? Well, you make your store is your brand, right? So tell your story. You've been around for 100 years, you know? Like for Aaliyah, you're third, fourth generation, fifth generation jeweler. There's something to say about that, right? There's pride in that. Costco, I mean, it's just a transaction, right? So I guess how you monetize that experience is, to David's point, is just by being there, right? But actively telling your story and connecting with your community, right? Find your target and figure out how to connect with them, and where does your story match with theirs? You know, maybe you you were a watch repair guy, right? I know I have so many jewelers, they were watch people. It's a dying breed, right? Not many people know how to work on watches. Tell that story, you can make a connection. Timepieces are coming back, right? A lot of people, I mean, it might not just be Rolexes, but it's, vintage, antique, and estate pieces as well. Connect with who you want by finding out what they want and figure out where your story matches with theirs.
Okay, Aaliyah.
They did a good job.
No, I mean, look. You went out here and you're playing with the internet. I mean, you're sitting here with the jewelers helping you. How many people are on there?
28,000.
All right, so she's got 28,000 jewelers. They're mostly jewelers, they're not all these guys. So now, you're using technology. Well, you without the internet, without Facebook, you wouldn't do it. So what should jewelers do to differentiate themselves? Forget about Costco. I mean, I use that as an example, but you don't want to compare. You want to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. How should the jeweler use the internet or Instagram or whatever?
I mean, the whole reason you buy anything, or why do you deal with anybody? Okay, your realtor. How'd you pick your realtor? Your dentist. How do you pick your dentist? Well, your dentist, you go to the same church. Your kids are on the same softball team. You were friends in college. I mean, that's the reason you do business with anybody who do business. Why is your accountant your accountant? You were both on the golf course and you met him. That's how anybody picks who they do business with. And so I know it's cheesy, the relationships, like we say that, and Signet's like, yeah, relationships, but we've got apps. No, the relationships is everything. That's why you're dealing with anybody you deal with, And so I know jewelers, My 3 biggest customers right now are women that sell from offices. And how do they do it? Well, they're on the PTA. They're like friends with the anchorman. They go to every gala. You know, that social being out there, that's what you can do. And you can do it on social media. It's called social media. So yes, go to all the parties, shake all the friends, like all their pictures. I talked to a jeweler the other day too. He's like, do you know how I sell $100,000 diamonds? He's like, if somebody likes boats, I love boats. If somebody, you know, likes cats, I love cats. I love it because they love cats. Maybe I don't really love cats, but I'll also love cats. So you can be, you know, love what they love, and you will have customers forever.
So with all this like ChatGPT and all of this new technology coming out to capture the attention of the consumer, and especially when you're looking at the transition to Gen Z, and you're looking at the transition to millennials, even for some of us old guys like me. And then you think about, well, am I communicating the right way? You know, once people used fax machines to communicate, okay? And so I'm looking at the, you know, I do that thing with the jewelry, and I put technology, and I put, you know, digital marketing over there. What do you think about those tools?
I hate all those. I can't stand all the ones where it's like, it's a virtual ring. You can go into a store and pretend you have a ring on. Like, just put a ring on. Holy crap. Like, I don't want the apps. I don't want the thing. They went into they have that all day long. And you don't want to walk into a store and look at a freaking screen again. They look at screens all the time. They go into a store to be with a person, you know? And so I think, and the thing is, if technology was going to take all of the small jewelers' jobs, it would have done it when we all stayed home for 2 years. I mean, if the internet and Blue Nile was going to like sell all the diamonds, then why didn't they do it when we, like, for 2 years during the pandemic? Jewelers didn't just jewelers didn't just survive, we thrived. So I really, really think, you know, well, I have a whole reason. People don't know what they want. The reason they go into a retail store is they have no idea what they want. If they knew what they want, they would have bought it. People don't, they're so insecure. You know the reason why Facebook is so popular? It's the likes. I don't know if I like this suit, but if Beth likes this suit and Sarah likes this suit, I guess I like this suit. People are so unconscious. They want someone to tell them what to buy. My friend paid a guy $120 just to tell him what corner of his yard he should plant a tree. People pay $1,000 for an interior decorator to just tell them what color they should paint their house. They're not even painting the house. They're just telling them what color. People want retailers to tell them what to do, and that's why they go to retail. It's like being a consultant. They want someone to do it for them. They want easy. People are so lazy. I mean, when you go on Amazon and there's all these toothbrushes and you sort by reviews, what are you sorting by? You're just like, well, let's just buy what everybody else bought. They just want easy, and I think that's why they go into stores.
Okay, that's great. I love what you said. So if I think about this, you've got this machine. Well, you know, I'd say Signet also has, he calls them sales representatives or friends or associates, whatever. So I think that there's no lock-in on independent jewelers to give a personal relationship with the customer. But I like the idea of avoiding technology and then coming along and saying, hey, I'm going to help you decide what to buy. I'm going to make you happy. And we don't know from some research it's old, but the number one consideration when the guy's buying jewelry is, and there's still a guy, well, girl, I mean, I can't get into this whole, sexual thing, but if they buy a piece of jewelry, they're thinking, will the other person be happy with it? The greatest fear is that I bought the wrong thing. But at the same time, having that shopping experience can be a very good time. It could be fun. So I think that if we start thinking about the experience of how you buy jewelry, may be more important than actually here's jewelry to buy. So you want to say something, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the last kind of 10 to 15 years, what's happened in luxury fashion. So in the case of luxury fashion, most luxury brands have pulled out of department stores and specialty stores and opened up their own spaces so that they can give their unique brand experience. And I think the other big difference is who's buying. This industry has always been built, not always been built, but a lot of it's been built around anniversaries and occasions. And that's great, but there is a huge potential out there to inspire people to buy whenever. And if you look at the analysis of the big uptick in 2021, that we're still getting the benefit of now, it's her buying for herself. It's not coming in for a specific occasion. So actually the experience, my view is that we still have a lot to do in our stores in terms of the experience, you know, to encourage her to come in. You know, when you see people come into coffee shops, and where do you sit? What's the experience you get? Because what we're selling is that experience. They're walking out with jewelry, but it's how they feel when they walk out of that store that will determine whether they come in again next week, or they'll come in again in a year's time, or they'll wait till there's an occasion. And if they wait till there's an occasion, we are missing out on a huge opportunity in this industry. So for me, we're talking about experience. For me, the big question is, what is that experience? Are we constantly challenging ourselves as to who it is, who she is, and what she wants out of that experience?
Yes, I think like one of the concepts we've been dealing with all along for many years here at these talks is transcending the product to the customer. You're not selling a piece of jewelry as much as you're selling a person. And instead of sorting the goods, maybe sort the people a little more. And so you got to get in earlier. You got to get in before the occasion. You got to get in before they're looking to actually buy something, or at least have an experience in the store that directly relates to the expectations of the customer, not necessarily pushing so much technology, although there might be customers that want the technology. There might be customers that love the certain thing. But I think that instead of us pushing, we should be developing a pulling community who wants jewelry, who wants to buy stuff. And so we need to think about our customers a lot more. And I think we do need to new technology. I think we do need to utilize the ability to communicate with our customers over the internet. I think I looked at a fantastic, the Investors Day booklet put out by Signet should be required reading for every retailer. It just has so much good information about the market, not just what they're doing or they're planning, but the market itself. And so if we look at 90% of people before they buy any jewelry are going on the internet. So there has to be some clicks and
Yeah, but you
bricks.
get on the internet and like you just Google like, oh, GI diamond, and all of a sudden for the next month, they're just throwing diamonds in your face and you have pop-ups and like all this stuff. And yes, of course, I'm not saying like no technology and let's all, mail letters to everybody. I'm just saying that it's so overwhelming and that I think people want it easy. And the technology is annoying and it's so much and it's very overwhelming.
Yep, it's annoying, but unfortunately, you're dealing with an entire generation that doesn't pick up the phone. Right? Like my brother, he's in the audience somewhere. Try calling him.
Oh, no.
No answer. He wants to text, right?
She does too.
I'll see him. I'll see people, I like that around my age that work for us, and I call them, they don't answer, but I can see that they're active on Instagram. They don't want that. They don't necessarily want that full communication. They go on the internet. I'll tell you how I shop. I go on the internet. Let's say I want a new pair of shoes. I know the brand I want. Let's say I want, Alexander McQueen's, right? I want a higher luxury item. I know what I want. I pretty much know what I want. I research it. I make sure the price seems correct. And then I go into the store because I want the experience. I want to try it on. I don't not know what I want and want to be sold. I hate being sold, especially by a pushy salesman. Hate it. I want to have the experience. I want to be shown what I already want. I kind of want to be validated, right? And so technology is a great tool to build that, right? If you can be up, I say reviews, Google reviews for independent retailers, huge. Because you're being shopped constantly. Whenever they type in best jeweler near me, if you're not in that top, and I'm sure you talk about it too, reviews are so important. You don't need to bombard them with digital advertising, but you need to be present and you need to have a good reputation because they're shopping you. And they're gonna come in and they have an idea of what they want. Seldom in my experience do they come in and say, I don't know anything I want. They know they either want a diamond ring, right? Let's talk for bridal. They want a diamond, she's got a picture, she went on Pinterest, the friends told her what they want. It's just figuring out and putting the puzzle together. So we have to use technology as a means to reach them, not bombard them, to Aaliyah's point. You can see 25 ads of the same diamond coming over and over. And that's Signet's strategy, right? But for the independents, you don't have the marketing budget or the know-how to do that, and that's not your niche. Don't go there. Go towards building your halo, building your reputation in your town and expanding that and bringing it to the digital. You can do it through Facebook, Instagram, going to local events, sponsoring events, just being around, like Aaliyah said, going to galas, that's a great idea. connecting, but you have to use the internet to build your credibility too, because my generation, we don't always go out into the galas anymore, right? We're shopping you before.
Yeah, and I'm clearly not of that generation, but so I can tell you the analytics. I agree with both of you. I think that in years to come, still the vast majority of jewelry will be sold in person. So I think you're both right, in as much as just depends on where. So it'll always be the personal touch. It will always be the trust, etc. I strongly believe in that. But just to give you some numbers, I was shocked when I came into this industry about the engagement on social media. When obviously we are very proficient, we spend a lot of money on promoting the industry through social media. We get 4 or 5 times the engagement level in luxury jewelry, in diamond jewelry, than any luxury fashion brand. Now you think how much people, how strongly they feel. You think about Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, you think of all those brands, how popular they are. Our industry gets 4 or 5 times the likelihood to engage. People love jewelry. And that's what gets me so passionate, and that's where it's kind of, they love jewelry, and between us, we've got to inspire them, as you said, where they are. She is on the phone all the time. When we were together in Tel Aviv, I was doing a presentation. I said, I know half the people in this room aren't listening to me because they're on their phones. And so that's where there's no point in me standing on a stage talking to you all. I need to be on your phone, talking to you through your phone. And through whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Weibo, WeChat, any of those platforms, that's where we need to speak to them. But they will always then, in most cases, come into the stores because they want that human interaction to make that purchase.
So the independent jeweler, the smaller jeweler, has something very valuable to sell, and that's the experience. And what we're learning, though, is that you're going to have to integrate a certain clicks and bricks channel of communication with your local. Don't minimize the local impact of you not being a Costco or a Signet or something else. And so, but you need to think about, okay, you get a good CTR. What David's telling us, you get a good click-through rate because people are interested in jewelry. Another question is, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to deal, what do they call it? Not retailing, they call it, so what's a new phrase everyone's using? As you there's a customerelling, or there's a phrase. I kept...
It's not clienteling.
What? Clienteling. Now, I don't know what it is, really. But the fact that we're thinking about this clienteling concept, that we're not talking about, sell the ring. We're talking about develop the client. And so when we look at the process maybe for the independent jeweler, what I'm getting out of this conversation is that it's a process. And it's a process of being in your community and recognized as a jeweler. It's a process of utilizing your internet, your strategy for digital presence, if not fancy digital marketing. So show me a jeweler near here and you would show up, obviously. But then it's really looking about how to harvest the client, how to convert the client and in an honest way that justifies the amount of money that you would take. I'd like to just ask you a little bit, how important is memo and credit for the jeweler? Because what we've been seeing is that the onus of owning the goods is on these distributors in New York. Now, I can understand that the jeweler doesn't have enough money to fund inventory, especially with interest rates going on. And FedEx gets it to them, like Stellar's great, gets your stuff next day. So how much should these independent jewelers inventory, I would ask you, how important is this relationship with these intermediate sellers?
100%. I mean, we're their bank, right? It's kind of, we're the bank. You get something in, you don't own it. A 3 carat, you don't want to own that for stock. It's a lot of capital. You call me, you call Aaliyah, you call someone like us. Everyone has your guy. Sometimes I hope it's me. And you call us, and we send it out to you. And you say you made the sale, yay or nay. If it doesn't sell, the risk's on me. It comes back, right? And you didn't lose any capital. It sells, great. And then you pay me. I'm basically your, kind of like a vault, right?
Yeah, but then again, I'm an independent jeweler, and I got 3 diamonds coming in from 4 different guys, and what is your view?
I'm speaking for the independent jeweler, right?
Yeah, you do that.
Give me memo. Give me all memo. Just Give me the memo. I mean, as an independent jeweler, I have the case. I'm doing all this work. I'm bringing the people in. To be honest, I think the dealer should just give me the diamonds. If I have $5,000, should I spend that $5,000 to stock a 1 carat, or should I spend that on $5,000 having a ladies' night, bringing people in? I think I should spend it on the ladies' night. So as a retailer, I think, give me more memo.
Yeah, but that's fair, right? There's a combination of the two, though. I can't give, how to explain? If I had an unlimited, if every diamond dealer had an unlimited vault of diamonds, sure, I'm going to give everyone memo, right? And if the conversion was there. But we know based on our 25 years of experience, 30 years of experience, people, when they own their inventory, the stores that buy inventory, they buy their core sizes, not 2 carats and 3. If that's your core size, is great. You have a 3/4 carat in stock. You have a 1 carat. You have a 1 1/4, 1 1/2. You own those. You own those. Whether it's from me or anybody, you're going to sell your owned inventory more. We've done long-term memo programs, right? And a lot of the times, they don't even put it in the case because they forget.
And find a better retailer.
But that's not.
Sells it.
But that's. I'm telling you from experience of 4,000 retailers, we have the numbers to prove it. Some retailers, it's great. That's their model. And power to you. We work with those. They call us. They got a call for fancies. Not many people stock fancies because everyone always wants a different one.
It's great. Look, there's different views about this. And I think what we're seeing is some kind of a segmentation of the jobs that are coming down the pipe when it comes to selling jewelry. There's a big question about fashion jewelry versus the bridal sector. And I believe that the bridal sector, and we can talk about the jewelry brand or the diamond brand, but let's go back to this conversation. So what we're thinking about is segmenting out. My wife Rivka's here. Rivka's rule: everybody should do what they do best. Easier said than done in the company. We have 155 employees. Not everybody wants to do what they do best. But if we're going to look at this and say, okay, the jeweler is going to make sure that the customer comes in and buys the diamond jewelry. I mean, look, they could be buying a watch instead. They could be buying colored stones, which is fine from the jeweler's perspective. Why not? So if you want the jeweler's attention, so let's say the jeweler does like diamonds, because we can talk about later this whole synthetic thing, but you can make a decent living if you actually sell a nice diamond engagement ring with $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or whatever. It sets the stage. But you're saying, hey, you can't just rely on me. You also have to put some skin in the game. And now this question of, here's these mining companies, big guys, they're putting in a tremendous amount of jewelry in the store. So then you start thinking, well, okay, where does Signet go? Where does the independent jeweler go? Where do the mining companies go with their Forever Marker or their other brands? And I'm game for everybody. I like the idea that everybody has an opportunity of competing with each other, because that's going to drive us to utilize technology. It's going to drive us to utilize digital marketing, whatever have you. But your point about the physical goods. So I think that there's a certain relationship between having something physically available in the store when the consumer walks in versus just doing it on memo. But I think that there's a balancing act.
100%.
I think there's a balancing act. So certain items maybe you want to buy if you can sell them on a regular basis. I was talking to the Edge earlier, it was yesterday or something, and they're talking about how, 20% or 30% of what you've got is what you're selling, and you may have 20, 30% of stuff as an independent jeweler that's just sitting there for like 10 years. But, look, I don't know. You never find out which is the 20% that does sell, so it's not that easy. But my point is that we need to have a more cooperative relationship between the suppliers and the buyers. We like Rapaport performing some of that, but there's other trading networks that do as well. So this interaction between the suppliers of the product and the retailers who are so good at selling it has to develop. And then we go to David's world of the mining companies saying, well, we need to keep the desire for diamonds on people's consciousness, not necessarily this specific store or this specific brand, although they're going to be doing more marketing, I understand. So we need to kind of lift up this interest in diamonds. So everybody has a role to play at a different level of the distribution system, and that if we work together and we ensure that there is a supply of diamonds for the small jeweler, I'm talking to the Bears now, I'm talking to the government of Botswana, make sure that there's goods flowing through, that we can have this kind of a story, but then also make sure that we can sell a higher level story of why do you want a diamond. And so I do want to kind of move this along a little bit. I see it says 16 minutes and 33 seconds or something. But tell me one other last thing before I start closing up this thing is, what is the brand of diamonds about? I mean, you know, Stephen Lucie always says, sell the idea behind the product. So what is the idea behind the natural diamonds?
Well, obviously I should know if I don't know. But for me, it's all about how you make you feel. You know, and it's kind of, and again, you know, it's so easy to commoditize everything, particularly when you're talking about money and you're talking about trading and all these things. But ultimately, diamonds and diamond jewelry is about how it makes you feel. And that's why two people might look at the same diamond and feel differently about it. The same diamond doesn't appeal to everybody. Jewelry doesn't appeal to everybody in the same way. But for me, what is incredibly special about diamonds is that you go out and buy a bag, you go out and buy shoes, you go out for dinner. Most experiences, you get a wonderful endorphin rush, and that goes. And it might go in 24 hours, it might go in a year, 2 years, 3 years. But it never goes when you talk about a diamond. Even within your lifetime, even lifetimes afterwards, when it gets passed on to people. So for me, it's all about how that diamond speaks to you.
So it's an emotional communication.
Without a doubt, a diamond serves no
How it makes you feel.
purpose whatsoever.
What's your view?
Well, you know, I think there's this, you know, whether or not you agree with it, there's a status portion to it, right? People used to buy, and I think synthetics kind of have changed that a little bit. We can talk about that if we choose to. But you know, you used to be able to the 1 carat. Now it's the 2 carat. You know, the new 1 carat's the 1.5. That's what I hear. And you have it to show a symbol of that you do well, right? Or that your loved one, whoever bought it for you, cares about you, or maybe you care about yourself. You bought it for yourself. You have that ability. I think that's the pillar that's shaky, especially with synthetics, because you're starting to see people have, you know, everyone's starting to have the big thing, right? And so are things losing their luster? I don't know, maybe. But I think the status part of it was a huge portion of the origination of why the diamond dream is what it is.
Okay.
I think we're so lucky. I don't have to create demand for my product. Like, women already want these things. You just have to tell them to come to you. So the most popular nickname in America for a girl is princess. Like, every little girl has been called princess since she was a little girl. And Diamond's part of that story. I mean, it's the Disney ending. You know, we want that, you know, white horse and the guy on one knee. And so, you know, whatever shitty movie comes out or any of this, like, they're not going to beat that Disney story. It's ingrained in us since we are little girls.
Okay, so you're saying that it's almost like a cultural imperative for women to love diamonds.
It's that, you know, cheesy romantic comedy and almost every single guy still gets on one knee, even if they've been dating for 10 years, he still does it. It's that, you know, it is that Disney story.
So I'll go one more round.
But I mean, the only thing I'd say is I 100% agree. We cannot take that for granted. There's certain generations, I am one of them, that was brought up with the De Beers campaigns over many decades. Millennials and Gen Z never saw one of those campaigns. Now, I agree, we are very fortunate that diamonds still come up in culture. Whether it's a Disney movie, whether it's Rihanna, whether it's hip-hop, so we are constantly pushing diamonds in culture. And then that culture changes, and we have to change with it. But I think what's really important is we don't talk within our own ecosystem, that we are constantly making sure that diamonds and diamond jewelry are part of that culture in exactly the way that you say it. People have been brought up to in previous generations.
Okay, we're at 12 minutes and 30. Let me see what time it is now. Oh, it's only 9:26, which is not bad. I'll throw one more question in this, and I did promise my team I would keep it short today so we have room for Q&As as well, and I'm sure people want to talk a little bit about synthetics, but why don't we just ask this question? How important is it that this gift that we're talking about, this feeling we're talking about, this status which may not be important to Gen Zs as much as it was, or this princess story, how important is it that that diamond be valuable? That it be valuable, that it be worth thousands of dollars and not hundreds or tens of dollars. And it could be an emerald, it doesn't have to be a diamond. How important is that gift, that symbolic gift, that it retain large amount of value, that it's very valuable?
I think I'd say for most people it's a large part of it, and it's not for everyone. You know, it's why, yes, I'm here to promote natural diamonds. There will be a world for lab-grown diamonds. Market dynamics and consumers will determine where that will be. But in my opinion, jewelry has long-lasting meaning, has long-lasting sentiment, and for me, there's something about if that value is going down, then does the sentimental value feel the same? So clearly, some people would say, I would say that, wouldn't I? I represent natural diamonds, but that is honestly what we see and we feel, that people who are buying natural diamonds want that long-lasting emotional connection to it, as opposed to buying something that physically looks good, but realistically knows isn't going to have that same kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, value is a subjective term, right? It changes with generations, it changes with a lot of things. And what I see in the next wave of demographics is there's going to be a lot of buying symbols or pieces of jewelry that are specific to you, that have meaning to you, right? That represent your aesthetic. That's the word, the buzzword. That they're authentic, right? They show your authenticity. So I think you're going to see. I mean, we see it already. Customization being a huge portion, creating your own pieces, but also going back and finding really awesome vintage pieces and resurrecting them. And making them your own. So I think as long as there's some level of wanting to make something your own, that's the value there. And whether it's a diamond or a brooch or a watch or whatever it may be, it's going to be there.
All right, well, Aaliyah is stepping aside, and I'm going to tell you what I see every day. So, well, one more thing. As Aaliyah, I would be like, yes, it's like a dowry. We used to give, like, goats and stuff. Like, you gave them something of value to say, like, I care about you. I want a commitment, that it used to be something of value. But, I mean, I was standing so strong for the naturals. I really am for the expensive and for the good shit. But, like, day after day, jewelers don't want to sell a 1 carat for $500. They don't want to, but if they don't, then their neighbor will. And I talked to Cullen, he's probably out here from Aylen, and he was with me. He's like, only natural, only natural. And when he got a call a month, he was like, no. And we got a call a week. But when you're getting 3 calls a day, it's sometimes you just say yes, because again, if you don't sell it, your neighbor is. I've talked to jewelers, and they haven't sold a natural diamond in 24 months. I mean, I'm talking about multiple calls a day, and I listen to retail jewelers all day, and they just, the people, you're talking about a generation that buys a $1,200 cell phone and throws it away in 2 years, okay? Like, they don't care that it's gonna be worth nothing. It's the story, okay? Pet rocks, they sold 15 million pet rocks. It was a rock with 2 googly eyes on it for $7 because it had a story. And right now, the lab story's good. It's sexy, it's technology, it's eco. The story is that it's the same thing, only cheaper. That's not true, but that is what the story is. And right now, they have a pretty good story.
Yeah, but Aaliyah, and you are much closer to retailers than I am, so I fully respect that. This week particularly, we've had so many retailers come to us and say, I can't keep going like this. I cannot run a business with this percentage of lab-grown diamonds. I have to sell more natural diamonds. How can you help me? Well, and that's, just to do a quick plug, obviously that's what we're here for. So, and I've said all along, there will be a customer for a lab-grown diamond. I'm not anti-lab-grown diamonds. I'm here to extol the values of naturals.
My only tiny thing is that is today, that is not yesterday, that is not tomorrow. So I believe tomorrow you are right, but today, Yeah,
and I will say, actually, this kind of just made a Yesterday, or the past 2 days that we're at the show, were the first time in like 3 years that I haven't been asked for a lab-grown diamond. They have not given me a call for lab.
So here's what we're going to do.
Right, so.
I got a half an hour here. I promise you, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give a little summary of this retailer. What should we do about independent retailers? A little bit, look at some demographics. Then we're going to have an open question. You guys are going to chill out, go back to your seats. And then we're going to talk a little bit maybe about synthetics as well. We won't have a lot of time. And then there'll be a press conference about this Green Star story. So thank you all very much, everybody.
Thank you, jewelers. Yay, you're wonderful.
Yeah,
you make
leave
it
the mics
happen.
here. We'll put some mics here so people can come and grab mics later, okay? Here we go. Do this. There, just leave them there. Leave them on your chairs or something. Okay. So it's really amazing that different people have different views about something so important. And they're right. I got to tell you the rabbi story. So this guy goes in the rabbi and he says, oh my God, my wife. And he tells the rabbi all these stories about the wife, and it's so terrible, my God, And so the rabbi looks at the person and says, wow, you know, you're right. You're 100% right. And then the guy picks himself up, walks out. 3 minutes later, knock, knock, in comes the wife. My husband, and she tells the rabbi all these stories about the husband, and then the rabbi's beard is standing up. It's terrible. And the rabbi tells the husband, the wife, you're 100% right. And then the rabbi's husband, let's say the rabbi's a woman, I have to be more, the rabbi's husband comes out of the kitchen and says, yeah, he's in the kitchen. And comes out and says, hey, how can he be right and she be right? And the rabbi looks at, and she says, you're also right. And what that means is that there are different perspectives, and people will try and do different things to be successful and to understand the role of diamonds, etc. I like to bring up the issue of jewelry being something of value, and that what we're selling is something very, very strong. And then maybe talk a little bit about the demographics. But I think I'm going to skip over some slides here, and I'm going to give you a quick little statement. A story, if it'll work. I keep trying. Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
Only thing I was able to hide and take with me, my mother's pearls. She had one string of real pearls she wore every day. Right. And I took it in my hand, and this is how I went to Auschwitz. When they opened the door, the Polish prisoners, the Jewish boys, were taking us off. I was terribly thirsty, and I said, Wasser, Wasser. And a boy went away and came back 2 minutes later with a bucket of water. Took the pearls, gave me drinks. That saved my life. You should know.
So now, do we have jewelry that saves people's lives? I give my kids a Rolex. They hang around in Africa, as he lives in Africa now. I say, well, this is your passport if there's a war. But think about it. How important is jewelry as a store of value? If you're a woman in Saudi Arabia, that's what you got, okay? And when I was going out to sell, I started in business. I went out the west coast of Florida, and I was knocking on doors. Paul Schmidt, I remember, was the first jeweler I visited. He wouldn't sell me for a year. Eventually, I sold him. And I would just knock on doors selling diamonds and stuff. And my mother, I didn't want to take any money from my parents. My mother gave me $5,000. And I said, Mom, I don't want to take any money from you. She said, no, don't spend it. Put the $5,000 in your pocket. You'll talk differently. We'll talk differently. Hey, some of my mothers. By the way, this woman that you saw with Auschwitz, that's also my mother. So when I think about jewelry as a source of value and, something being very valuable, and I see these great Christie's auctions selling for millions of dollars, that's the real jewelry business, everybody. You may want to sell a little sparkly stuff. You may want to open a store in the Magic Kingdom. You may want to go Disney. But if you really want to be in the jewelry business, you may want to think about the fact that diamonds aren't for everyone. And not everybody that walks in your store should be your customer. And then maybe you should define yourself as being up to diamonds. The De Beers is a great phrase they used to use, up to diamonds. You are selling something of great value. And of course, it breaks my heart when I see that God has created this world where married people getting engaged want to spend great value, and the jeweler says, oh, don't spend money. Here, let me give you something cheaper. Imagine you're a florist and you're doing weddings and you tell people, I'll get you cheap flowers. I'll get you plastic flowers, I can just do that for you. You don't sell up, you sell down, lower price. Go away from that. But my point is that value, real jewelry can save real lives. And I think we should be aware of that. One other thing I did want to talk about here was the demographics. We are not living in an isolated world of your store and your customers. You and your customers are a ping pong ball in an ocean of change. All those things that I talked about, competition, technology, marketing, it's just all changing. Now, one thing that's changing that no one can lie to you about, and I think both Fox and CNN would agree on this, is demographics. And how's that going to affect the smaller jeweler? Look at this, my friends. From 42 million, we're going to 57 million people that are over the age of 70. Diamonds, fine jewelry are forever. Little old ladies are not. There's going to be billions of dollars of finished jewelry, some of it needing repair, diamonds, gems. I'd say at least $2 billion a year, maybe a lot more, over the next 10 years. The biggest growth that we're going to see here, if I'm not mistaken, is 16%, although you'll be seeing the 30 to 49-year-olds. Now, 95 million. Now, if you ask me what would be the job of the independent jeweler be, maybe to move goods from the baby boomers to the millennials. Because here's another funny thing. I look at millennials and I say, geez, these guys are really weird and all that, but they're all getting older. The Tinderites are now becoming marriageites or something. You know, things are changing. And you know that we're going to witness those who live through the next 10 years as well. The greatest transfer of wealth in human history. Those millennials, they're going to get all the money from the baby boomers. They're just waiting for them to die. Okay? Sounds weird, right? They are those little sneaky guys, you know? And there's a lot of them. Okay? So you're talking about pretty strong growth over here. And I think what you're looking at here is the percentage of the population. 60% of the population in 2033 is going to be over 70 years old. Yeah, wow. Yeah. And there'll be a lot of millennials and other people growing in this. And look at this thing, okay, the growth. 36% growth in 70 plus. Biggest growth. And I didn't make these numbers up. I can't make them up. They come out of the U.S. Census. So I want everyone to be aware that there is a huge world of opportunity sitting right in front of you. You just got to position yourself on the surfboard. And you really have to have the expertise to buy a piece. If someone walks into your store with a really nice Cartier piece, what are you going to do? Okay, you bring something that you sold them, and you got to trade them up. But now this could be worth $100,000. You don't know if it's worth 50 or 100. So we're going to work on training. We're going to work on doing different things that will take us there. But there is tremendous opportunity for people who understand the goods that the American consumer is going to want to sell back to the market. Huge, huge opportunity, my friends. And I think that ultimately we may see a world where jewelers are going to make more money buying stuff than selling stuff. Because the customer is important, and the customer says, my mother wants to pass away, and I have this, and I want to sell it. I want to send my daughter to college, and I can use this money for that. You need to take care of that customer if he's applying your jewelry just as you would if we're selling. It's diamond business, the jewelry business is not a one-way street. It's a customer relationship. And I guess if you get nothing out of this breakfast, you really understand that idea of this relationship development and building. And the guy's going to want to sell you something. You say, sure, I'll help you sell it. And so we have Rapaport Auctions. I'm not here to promote Rapaport today. I'm here to tell you these are the opportunities that we see coming up all the time. So jewelers need to differentiate between the low-cost sparkle business. Oh, here's something pretty. It's only $20. I mean, it's ludicrous that we would take someone that walks into the store wanting to get engaged, wanting to spend thousands of dollars, and then we sell them this product that's going to go down in value forever to tens of dollars, maybe hundreds of dollars. That's where it's going. So we have an opportunity to sell thousands, and then in a race to the bottom, we sell hundreds. It's not sustainable. So that's something you really need to think about. Differentiate it. You want to be in the sparkly business, I don't know, do a deal with Swarovski. Maybe you can sell them in your store. They do really well in the sparkle business. But if you want to sell jewelry, real diamonds, you can't call synthetic diamonds real diamonds, even according to the ultra woke Federal Trade Commission. You can't. Real can only rely to a natural product. So anyways, differentiate your business or get out of the synthetic business altogether. Jewelers need to have confidence in the value of the service and products they sell. You're selling me swampland, and you're selling me, and you're really proud of that? Your whole personality, your whole identity, in my eyes, becomes one of, I don't know, maybe we'll eventually get jewelers to be worse than used car salesmen. Jewelers need to know that they are important and deserve the full support of the diamond trade. They are our foundation. I cannot say this enough today. We need to have a very strong, powerful, independent jewelry presence in the United States to optimize our diamond sales. Everybody should realize that, which means we have to go out of our way to find ways to support the independent jeweler. Maybe it's with technology. There's a lot of companies giving all kinds of technology, how to run your shop better, using technology. There's all kinds of ways in which we can learn how to deal with the future and how to capture the new opportunities that are coming up. So I'm very optimistic about the jewelry industry. But I know that we have to change. And we have to have respect for different people who have different views of how we have to change. We have to establish standards that are meaningful to our values as human beings. Are you, if your kid says to you, are you supporting the war in Russia? Are you? Your kid, you're talking to, you're talking to your wife, your wife's talking to you. Who are you? What kind of people are you? And you can differentiate. Not everybody has to be the same. So I'd like to support the idea that we need to relate to the independent jeweler as a core asset, a core value of the diamond and jewelry industry. We have to support the jeweler. We have to accept that different people are going to do different things, the rabbi joke. But at the same time, we have to retain the concept of diamonds being up to diamonds, real diamonds, being a tremendous store of value. I warn people, and I see investors, all the investment diamond I see right now is very dangerous. I wouldn't support that with a million ways, because the value of the investment isn't worth, take the goods, break a box, try to sell them. You lose 50% of your money or so. But my point is something else. Stay true to who you really are. My mother, in her closing words, I talked to her before she passed away, and she said to me, she said, stay true to who you are, to your real identity. There's going to be all kinds of shiny things coming in, all kinds of opportunities, all kinds of I can do this, I can do that. And I'm not against Bitcoin, I'm not against new things, but stay true to your values. So if you sell something to someone and it's something of value that you personally say, I believe in this, I have confidence in this product, fine. You sparkle. You put out that energy. And so that's like the most important thing. And if you're selling a product you don't really believe in, it smells from 100 miles away. So I just want to encourage everybody to be comfortable with yourselves. Look at the values that you really want to be in. And it's okay if you want to sell Russian diamonds, if you feel that's the right thing to do. Just think about where you're adding value to your customer. And recognize, I think we all recognize that the relationship that you have is probably the most important asset that is necessary for the successful development of the diamond industry. And it's not just between the retailer and the customer, it's between the supplier to the retailer. And it's between the diamond manufacturer to the, and people can come in and say, okay, I'm going to break everything. I'm going to go direct from the diamond manufacturer to the consumer. And they can try to do that. But they're not going to succeed in the way that we can, or that other people will succeed in a competitive environment by really being local and knowing it. So I think that the bigger issue is we should all get together. I'm not a believer that everybody should be in our umbrella. I don't believe that, okay? I believe we have to be selective about who we deal with, about the type of goods we deal with, and we have to believe in our products. But I am very strongly in support of the independent jeweler because I believe that it's a necessary foundation for the diamond industry. Okay, so thank you, and then I'm going to take a drink, and we're going to open for some questions. There'll be some mics here, so we can set that up and open for questions. Now's the time to clap. Also, we want to do a picture. I know a lot of people are going to kind of sniggle out of here, but if you guys want to do a picture at the end, we'll do some Q&A. I imagine there will be, I can't really see people out there with the lights on. Excuse me? Yeah, the mic is up here in the front if anybody wants to ask some questions. And then we are going to do a picture of everybody before we go. Are there any questions? See, everybody's leaving. That's good. See what's happening. No questions? No questions? Who here sells synthetic diamonds? Raise your hand. All right. Do you think we should sell synthetic diamonds? Can I hear the story for it? Do I have to get Aaliyah back up here to ask the question? I see someone coming up. Is that one about? Okay, please.
Hello, I'm Céline. I'm from Belgium. You know Belgium, Antwerp, and all this world. I just wanted to say that from the 1st of May this year, all the jewelers have to say before the sale of a jewel if all the diamonds on the jewel are natural or synthetic. It is legal. We have to do that. So please, when you send parcels to jewelers, please don't mix synthetic and natural ones, because it will be the responsibility of the jewelers, okay? So please be really careful. You have the tools. I'm legal appraiser. I know you have the tools to show a parcel without a mix of synthetic and natural. So please be careful. And as you say in your PowerPoint, we have to be confident. We have to know that we deserve a full support of diamond dealers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the point here is that we have to be careful what we sell and not to mix. But does anyone know how we can actually test JK melee, say -2.5 or -6? You can't. And we're doing like these auctions from pawn shops, and we're already seeing synthetic diamonds infiltrating into the supply stream. So there's stuff that you can't really sort out. And so we are in a situation where there is mixing going on in some areas where it's difficult, it's almost impossible to actually, I mean, you could maybe use the Huda machine on thousands of carats of -2.5, and some people do. So we're going to be working on this concept of having assured 100% non-synthetic mix. But we should be careful, and everybody should be careful. I've had reports from people that are wandering around America buying goods from jewelers that they're afraid to buy goods now because they can't test for synthetic. Okay, next question. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Sam Offer. I'm the owner of Ideal Diamond in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to share a story that have a question in the end. I had a client that came a couple of weeks ago to buy a diamond. He wants to know the difference between natural and synthetic. I explained to him, and he said, the diamond that I want, what is that going to cost me? I said, the quality that you want is about $10,000. He said, okay, and if I want synthetic? It's about $3,000. He said, let me tell you how I think. 65% of the people in the United States are getting divorced. If I buy a $10,000 diamond from you and wants to sell it when I get divorced, I might get $4,000 or $5,000. Correct? I said, maybe. He said, okay. So then I lose $5,000. Here's my thought. I'm going to buy the same quality for $3,000 and let her keep it. So I lose the $3,000 now instead of $3,000 later. You know, the question is, what do you say to a customer like that? You're wrong? He's right. Okay. The second question I have for you. For a long time I was fighting the synthetic, didn't want to sell synthetic, but like everybody says, we get out of 5 diamonds, 4 people want to buy synthetic or lab grown. You got to have some inventory to show. The guy want to see, show me a lab grown, show me a natural one. Show me a carat, show me 2 carat, show me 3 carat. So here I buy inventory of, for example, 1 stone I bought last year, 1 carat GVS1. It was $1,600. Today it's $300. What do you do? How do you deal with it? You get stuck with inventory, and if you buy $500,000 of lab grown a year ago, it's worth today $50,000. So what do? You just, you know, mark off the book, $400,000 gone, vanished. Thank you.
All right, well, I think those are really good points, and I think that everybody here has to deal with reality, not just this theoretical discussions. I think the first question is, what is your relationship with your customers? Do we just do whatever the customer says to make the customer happy? And like I said before, I don't know if real diamonds, you know, like we don't want any synthetic diamonds in RapNet. And then everyone says to me, you're crazy, there's a market, you're not dealing with what the customer wants. And I say, to hell with the customer. I'm more important than the customer, who I am, what my bubble is, what my identity is, what I believe in, what I think you should buy. And I'm in the jewelry business. I'm not in the splash. So look, this stuff's going to go down to tens or hundreds of dollars a carat. You know, selling falling knives does not appear to be great for one's long-term reputation. So I write them off. I just say, you don't have to do anything about synthetic diamonds. Let them go. And they'll crash. And you're going to miss customers in the meantime that you're not going to sell. And I'm saying to you that you define your brand by what you don't do as much as you define your brand by what you do. And so saying, I'm sorry, I don't carry it. You want a price? I don't. Again, I would send people to Swarovski. I think they're even starting to do synthetic diamonds now. So I'd say, here, it's not what I do. I do expensive, fine quality jewelry. Now that may not be for you. You may be a jeweler that says, listen, I live in a little town. People don't have enough money for this, and I'm just going to sell them these other diamonds. And hey, if that's your call, that's your call. Just be aware of the fact that the value will go down and the people will lose the $3,000 that they may not expect. But, you know, is it a product? Yeah. Is cubic zirconia a product? Yeah. Were we afraid once that cubic zirconia will take over the diamond business? I think India produces much more cubic zirconia per year than they do diamonds. And they're the biggest diamond guys. So, you know, but decide who you are. Then think about what you're going to do with the customer. But if the customer pulls you by the nose everywhere, and you just do anything you can sell them, you're going to be out of the real jewelry business. You're going to be into price wars and the markups. You're not going to be a sustainable jeweler, I don't think. I don't know how many sustainable jewelers sell synthetic rubies, emeralds, sapphires, but I'm sure there are some that do, and that's fine. But, you know, who are you? And if you want to sell that stuff, and I guess you could have all kind of little sparkly things in your store, maybe you could have some neon lights. I don't know. Yeah, that's you.
Yes, Mr. Rapaport. My name is John Juan from Balan Jewelry in Los Angeles, and thank you for doing this event for us. And my question is, your mom said that be true to who you truly are, and it seems like her story is very inspiring. Can you tell us more about her story?
I will, but we got to run up the questions pretty soon because I did want to get a picture of everybody. My mother was a very special person who survived Auschwitz for a year and then Bergen-Belsen, and she was a very lucky person to be alive, and I'm lucky to be here too. But the world that she lived in was very different from our world, but her values sustained. So no matter some of the things I looked about my mother taught me or related to me, you know, you'd think they come from another world, which they did. She was born in 1927, but their values are here today, and that's why I put her up on the screen. Okay, but I don't know if I'll have time for all these things, but maybe you can ask the questions. But I would like to invite people while we're asking some of the questions. Could you come up on the stage so we can do a picture? Can everybody just kind of, everybody wants me to picture, come out of the stage. Let me tell them I'll answer the question too. So come on up, everybody. Come on up behind me, come up around. Let's show the world we all hung out together in Vegas, okay? Really appreciate you guys. Meantime, you can ask the question.
Maybe the Social Responsibility Conference.
Yeah, there will be a...
So we still ask questions?
Yes, the question will come, and I promise afterwards I'll hang out. So wait. Everybody's, come up on the stage here. Everybody, come on up. Miles down. Hi, Miles, how are you? Come on up. I know I'm killing your question, but I promise I'll answer you later. You're on the cover. You are so great. Thank you. I'm so happy. Come on. Okay, so while people are coming up, go ahead and ask your question. Wait, you got it in front of me. I feel bad about that, but I do think it's great. Let's get a picture. Come on. A lot of people, come on up here. I'm sorry, the guys with the questions, I promise I will be available after the picture in the back of the room. Okay, let's go, everybody. Whoever wants to be in the picture, let's do it now. Can you get a picture? Who's going to go? He has to go back. Okay. All right. Come on over here. You can stand right next to me. Let's go. Anybody wants to be in the picture? The Rap Breakfast 2023. Okay. I want to point out there is a Social Responsibility Conference, 2 to 4. I think it's 1 floor down. And we are having a press conference right after this as well. Okay, so are we ready here? Everybody want to be in the picture? Can we get in? Can you get everybody? Yes. Everybody? Yes. All right.
On three, everybody say Rapaport. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Rapaport. Okay, thank you so much. Do we video also something there? Okay, thank you all very much. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you all very much.
Can I have a selfie with you?
Yes, you can have a selfie with me. I'll be out there later.